begin. Thank you so much, loving God. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the privilege to study your word and to live at the end of the world, to be part of the final movement. We're so grateful, and we pray that as we see the fulfillment of the prophecies which you warned us before, that you might be established in the hope of the soon coming of this of your soon coming, and that we might thereby find joy. We pray that you may guide us in today's study. We pray that you may lead us in Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Thank you. So, happy Sabbath, everyone, and welcome to our study. So, I'm going to share my screen. Just wait for me for yeah, I hope it's clear.
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't see you, Titus, but that's all right if you don't want to.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me.
Yeah. So today we are going to do a study on why the Sixth Kingdom failed, and I'm going to it's going to be a revision. It's it's a study that was done by one of our teachers and one of our Sunday law teachers, and I was interested in it, and I decided we could share and discuss together. So our study is why the Sixth Kingdom failed, and so I just want to present this. So we have an awareness generally in the movement that we are living in the days of the Seventh Kingdom, that we are in the Sunday law dispensation, and we are past the Sunday law, and we have a general agreement, consensus that the Sunday law was 2024, and so the Sixth Kingdom has passed, and we are in the Seventh Kingdom. And in the Sunday law studies that we have done, one of the things that we have identified marks the transition point between the Sixth Kingdom and the Seventh Kingdom is the election. Is election. Election as a means of a government, or election as a means of people gaining government positions or authority in the United States. So, and maybe the question that I'll just ask is, and I think we have discussed this before, is that we talk about 2024 election being this event that that is a transition point between these two kingdoms, the Sixth Kingdom and the Seventh Kingdom. I understand that we can mark Sixth Kingdom and Seventh Kingdom, that transition, in different waymarks based on different perspectives, and I don't know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, and in regards to the 2024 election, there are so many issues and there are so many issues that are involved in it. And as a movement, we have a knowledge that, and or we are focused with certain points that we would want to see. But even at the level of the world, and if I may ask, what were the two major issues that influenced the voters in the 2024 election?
Immigration.
Thank you. Yeah, immigration, and maybe another one. Thank you, Natalie.
Economy.
Yeah, thank you. It's looking for the two. Thank you. Yeah, so immigration and economy. These two issues were central. If I think um, polls and uh, polls and surveys were done, and what uh, came what came out was that immigration and economy was the two major issues that influenced voters in 2024 election. And so today, I want us to consider this and how they led to the to those who voted for Trump voting for Trump, the way they voted based on how they saw the economy and how they saw the issue of immigration playing out. And by doing that, I think we'll answer why the Sixth Kingdom failed. So yeah, up until that point, maybe if there is any question, any issue in regard or like any discussion.
Titus, I thought I was going to say climate change, but obviously that doesn't come into it. I thought maybe some of those issues would have been around climate change, but maybe
Yeah,
not.
I think we could add it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just go with these two, but I agree. Yeah, climate change certainly played a part. Yeah. So yeah. So I just want to bring this parallels, and then we will as we continue. So we know in the Bible we have these different parables that will teach us about this event here, which is the transition between the sixth kingdom and the seventh kingdom. And one of the other names that we give the sixth kingdom, according to Daniel 11 verses 41, is the glorious land, modern glorious land. That's another figure that we give it. And if you can just go to another Bible story, which is a form of a parable to teach us about this, it's the ancient glorious land. Because if you have modern glorious land, then you have ancient glorious land. And we can see this structure here. I hope it's visible. We can see that if we go to the Old Testament, you will have this narrative where Babylon comes to punish glorious land for um, for some reason, why they for some reason connected with the glorious land, ancient glorious land, Judah. So and this can teach us, can give us can teach us about why we about what the sins of the modern glorious land are in relation to it being overthrown by the seventh kingdom. And I don't know if that parallelism is clear, but because of time, I'll just move on, and I want to make a suggestion that, and the suggestion is that ancient Israel glorious land falls because they did not carry out the laws, the principles that they were given by God because they were a theocracy in Leviticus 25 and Leviticus 26. Of course, we can go to other Bible passages. So we know ancient Israel, the nation of Israel or Judah or Israel generally, they were a theocracy, and we have the church and state was combined. But if you just consider the state aspect, we know they had different laws to guide the state, to guide individuals. We had moral laws to guide individuals and ceremonial laws and perhaps even civil laws. And I would say those laws, they were designed to help Israel as God's people, as God's nation, to carry out its different the different practices or actions they wanted to in regard to their in regard to what they would do in terms of the economy, the nation's economy. And I want to say those nations were contained in Leviticus 25 and Leviticus 26. And connected with that is I want to make a suggestion that those those laws that they were given by God, we had underlying principles that would have guided them to formulate their laws and to guide them in their practices, in their day-to-day practices. And I would say you can find that in Leviticus 25, Leviticus 26, and you can find the principles in the Decalogue, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your fellow human being and treat them well. Of course, fellow human being in that context, in that generation, meaning your fellow Israelite. Yeah. So, and I wanted to say they departed from that, and we have many Bible verses that talk about that. They departed from this, and because of that, they were taken into captivity for 70 years. God allowed Babylon to come and destroy, to come and intervene because they failed. So, in regard to that, what we can say is that we have a nation. They are given some principles, and they are given something to guide them, and they should adopt the principles that they were given by God, and they fail to do that, and they are punished. And we are. I'm talking at I'm talking about Israel at a state level. Yeah. So I also want to suggest that if you come to the modern glorious land, and modern glorious land is United States, to find to find the reason why they are punished and why they fail or they fall, we can adopt the same method, which is now we have to go into history and see significant developments. And today, because we identified as we started that two major issues influenced voters in 2024 election, immigration and economy. I want us to trace the US economy from 1930s and even a period before that, and see how it has developed and the underlying principles that governed the different economic models. Yeah, so that's what we are going to do. So just as in regard to ancient Israel, they had underlying principles like love to God and love to fellow humanity, equality. And if they had developed those principles and ensured those principles guided the different policies, the different actions they pursued, been they would have been prosperous, and they would never have been punished, or they would never have been taken into captivity. Yeah. So we will go into these histories, but before we do that, I just want to maybe if you can just say something concerning what we what one of our teachers has said in one of the studies, which is that when we study anything, we have to approach it from first principles, understand the root cause. And in this case, when we talk about the economy, when we talk about economy, when we talk about anything, any action, there is an underlying thing that motivates, or there is an underlying thing that uh, that forms part of that, on which that thing or the actions, whether it's economy, whatever, rests upon. And so when we are going to consider the economic models that United States has adopted, or the different phases that it has adopted since, one of the things that, if it's possible, we can do is understand the underlying causes and the underlying principles. Yeah. So the issue is economy. Yes, economy is the issue, the visible thing that people will make decisions on in regard to whether they vote Trump or not. That's the visible outside thing. But there's an underlying issue that causes that. Yeah, like, yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, so we'll start with 1930s. And before that, maybe if anyone has anything to say or any question,
Titus, can you just link
okay.
to me why Titus, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Can you just link for me, go over just quickly why I know I mentioned immigration and economy, but why and you've mentioned the voters, that's why they voted for Trump. Why are you linking that now? Why are you going back? Sorry, I'll probably missed something.
Oh yeah, I'm going back into what led to the right, like, um, the train of events in relation to the different economies and economic models that United States has adopted, that led to the rise of Donald Trump, and which made it possible that Trump was voted in 2024. Of course, Trump was voted in 2016, so you'd argue maybe 2016. So we are going back into the chain of events that led up to Trump being voted into office. And Trump being voted into office would tell us that that's the end of Sixth Kingdom. So you would connect that to the Sixth Kingdom, and then at least, if we will, why it failed.
Thank you. But this line you've got up at the moment, it's not connected to voting, it's just connected about how certain financial things happened that moved things along. But it's not connected to voting, this line you put up now.
Oh yeah, it will be connected to voting as an issue in 2024, because they decided to vote Trump based on economy. So
I get that. I mean the line you have up now on the board. That's not connected to voting.
Oh yeah, okay, I get you. Yeah, sure.
If I may just say something here, Titus.
Yes.
It's not directly connected to what you're saying, but it has a bit of a thing for me, is that Trump's election his strategy was to lie about the economy and about immigration as much as he can. And the strange thing is, people believed him and some continue to believe him. And I see the same thing happening elsewhere in the world. I can see it here in Britain. We saw it with Brexit. Those that advocated for Brexit lied, straight up lied about the benefits of Brexit. And today we see it, that was just a lie. All that was a lie. And the same thing is happening again with Nigel Farage and his party. They just go out and lie. And people believe. They just believe a lie. It's incredible. But yeah, as I said, it's not directly connected to what you're saying, where you're going to at least. But yeah, that's just something I noticed.
Oh yeah. So okay. So thank you for that. So we're just going to go through the histories and the different events as they unfolded from 1930, of course, in regard to U.S. economy, and hopefully I'll come back to your point, Brian, whether these people, they really lied or they just tapped into something that was real and that was genuine. So maybe we'll see into that. They manipulated a genuine real issue. So let's go to 1930s, New Deal. So something happens in 1930s. It's the Great Depression, and it begins in 1929. In 1929, we have a financial crash, and that financial crash in 1929 causes the Great Depression. Now, 1929 to 1939, we have so many things happening in the world. Spanish Civil War, we have the rise of Hitler in Germany, we have nationalism in different nations in the world. Stalin's Russia, yeah, I think Franco's France, Italy, I think, yeah. So we have this. There's a lot of things happening in that history, and one of the things happening there is the Great Depression, felt in United States, Britain, and parts of Europe. And this Great Depression, as I said, it begins in 1930. So this chart, I'll be coming back to it. So I'll be going to other slides and then I'll be coming. So at this point, we're just discussing 1930s. And so then this 1930 depression, Great Depression, if I'll just, if somebody can just read this, yeah.
The Great Depression was a severe global economic downturn from 1929 to 1939. The period was characterized by high rates of unemployment and poverty, drastic reductions in industrial production and international trade, and widespread bank and business failures around the world. The economic contagion began in 1929 in the United States, the largest economy in the world, with the devastating Wall Street crash of 1929, often considered the beginning of the Depression. Among the countries of the most unemployed were the USA, the United Kingdom, and Germany.
Yeah, so this Great Depression, it had massive effects, and it led to just as you Fred, thank you so much. It led to massive unemployment and in Germany. It was in Germany, in United States, and in Britain that the three nations as the it's Wikipedia stated, they suffered massively. And if you just go back to this Great Depression, 1930s, it shapes the economic policies that will come after it, and it reflects the economic policies that came before it. And so let's just go back a bit before 1930, and So before we read the New Deal, I'll just go here. So so before 1930, we have these histories, and the economists, I think they will categorize these periods into different periods, and they will give them different names. But I just want to go with the three, which is we have this history in United States between 1800s to 1860s, and they will call it early industrialization. I don't know why. And during this period, you will have this divide between the north and the south. The south, they are mostly concerned with the economy. Sorry, they are mostly concerned with agriculture and specifically cotton. And the north are industrialists. They will do trade. And during this period, 1800s to 1860, cotton and slavery, especially cotton farming, was what to a great extent helped the helped the South. And so the divide between the North and the South leads to the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. And then from that period, we are going to have the Reconstruction economy. So before I discuss Reconstruction economy, one thing that I will say about the period 1800s to 1860s, this early industrialization, is it's it came out of it came out of the period before 1798, if I would say that, and there was so much emphasis on people or on individuals just by their capability, strength, doing and lifting themselves and doing their best. So there was an emphasis on the individual and we would say capitalism. So, and if you go to the global south, not the global south, I mean the American South during this time period, the slave owners owned slaves, the black people, the slaves, and they used them to manufacture capital and to enrich themselves. So during this period, one of the things that can really be said is that the economy was dependent on slavery to a great extent. And so when we come to 1861, and another thing that needs to be said is that the South, to some extent, they did not want government intervention. They wanted less government intervention in regard to their to what they were doing, in regard to the to their activities, to their agricultural activities, and especially slaves. And when Abraham Lincoln wins in 1860, the Civil War breaks because the South, they did not want that. And the Civil War ends. And then from 1860s to 1870s, we have the Reconstruction economy. And we know during this time period, 1860 to 1870, 1863, we are going to have the 14th Amendment. Is it 1863 or 1865? I think I don't remember well. Between 1863 and 1865, we're going to have 14th Amendment, and at least the slaves are going to be freed, black people, and they are going to be free. And what this creates to the Southerners is they start they start having a perception of what a government should do, which is that the government should not interfere much with what people are doing, like with individuals. And there's a tension in this time period, and I I just don't want to dwell on that so much. And then we come to 1870s, 1870s to 1920s, and we will have they call it the Gilded Age. And during this period, we'll have the economy is growing, especially from 1860. They are going to move progressively away from agriculture to industrialization. And when that happens, another form of another economic model, laissez-faire capitalism, laissez-faire economy is going to be progressively adopted and to be practiced, if I would say that. And laissez-faire capitalism is we will discuss as we continue, is the government interferes less with what the individuals are doing with their business, so with their markets. So it's a free market. It's a free market economy. Let the people do what they want to do, and let the government interfere. Let the government interference in that be less. Yeah. So this, especially between 1870 and 1920, this minimal government regulation, and especially leading to end of 1920s, leads to the 1929-1930 Great Depression. So we'll just read this. So if someone can read the ones in the ones that are highlighted.
Did you see the comments in the chat as well? Are you seeing
Oh
them?
yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's all right. I got distracted there. I thought, I wonder if you saw them or not. It just, Natalie said 1863, January the 1st. Of course, I don't know what that was for. Was that for when the liberation of the slaves?
Yeah.
And the 14th
Yeah.
Amendment.
14th Amendment. Yeah.
14th
Thank you.
Congress on 13th of June, 1866. 14th
Yeah.
Amendment. Okay, do you want me to read this?
Yeah.
During
Thank
the
you.
Great Recession, debates concerning Franklin D.
The ones in
Oh, just the dark, sorry.
blue.
The New Deal regime of political economic commitments lasting from roughly 1932 until the late 1970s was a democratic interlude compared with the laissez-faire and managerial liberal regimes that prevailed for most of the 50 years before the New Deal and the neoliberal regime of the past 30 years since.
Yeah, so if I just come back to this. So this 1930s, this Great Depression in the 1930s, this article is going to say that something comes after it, which we'll discuss. It's the New Deal. And before this New Deal, before this 1930s, is this laissez-faire economy that we've just discussed, which is free market economy, no government, less and less of government regulations. And this is what leads to the 1930s Great Depression. It contributes hugely to the Great Depression in 1930. And this Great Depression in 1930, so between 1929 and I think 1933, we are going to have a president in the United States, and I just go directly. It's called President Herbert Hoover, a Republican, from 1929 to 1933. And this period, the period between 1930 to 1940, this Great Depression, this is the period where we'll have changing and shift of, I would say, ideology, or between Democrats and Republicans. Remember, in 1860s, during the Civil War, we saw Republican Party as the right party and the Democrat Party as the wrong party in 1860s. But during the Great Depression, they are going to change. So the Republican Party will start adopting and identifying with some ideology, and the Democrats will do the same. So we'll just read and then we'll get it. So Herbert Hoover, 1929 to 1933, and he comes into office after winning a landslide victory and believing the boom of 1920s would continue. So what happens in 1920s, 1914 to 1918, we have the first American Civil War. Sorry, the First World War. And from 1918, we are going to League of Nations is going to be formed, and then we'll have a brief period where we'll have economic boom. And during this period, we are going to have this president, Herbert Hoover, who is going to be elected in 1929. But immediately, it says, just after 8 months in office, the stock market is going to crash, and we are going to have the worst economic depression in American history, just as we saw. So I'll go to another. So during this period is when the Republican values now change, and it says Hoover had a very fixed views on the responsibilities of the government. He believed in laissez-faire and rugged individualism. Laissez-faire meant the government would limit its intervention in the economy, and Hoover believed that too much interference would mean economic normality would not return. And there was a bill passed, it's called Ghana-Wagner Relief Bill. It was passed by Congress for government to spend money to create jobs, but he blocked it. And rugged individualism, so laissez-faire and rugged individualism, these two things, they are mostly connected with the economics that will be that the Republicans will champion from this point forward until 1989, as we will see. So we have this laissez-faire, which is free market economy, less government intervention, and then rugged individualism, which means that people should just people are expected to overcome problems and they should succeed by their own efforts. So the government should not really do much in regard to that. The individuals should just do their are expected to solve their own problems, and then the market is expected to be efficient by itself without government intervention. And there's this issue, and I think we identified with it, which is that there's this idea that if the government helps people with subsidies, they are going to be lazy, and maybe it will damage their morals. And we have this idea of being self-made. He thought he was self-made millionaire. And he had the expectation that others also should be self-reliant, and by that they can be successful. Yeah. So, and that is what this president, 1929 to 1933, is going to place their economic policies on. And in 1933, then we are going to have another president, a Democrat, and that is Franklin D. Roosevelt. And Franklin, yes, Natalie.
I might be wrong, but did Hoover actually do what he said? I think he did intervene with the government regarding the economy. Just wondering if you knew that.
You said?
He says he believed in not big intervention with the government, but I think he did have big intervention in the economy in that time. I was just wondering if that's correct. For me, what I'm saying.
Like you mean Hoover believed in much government intervention or less?
Did he believe that the government should not intervene much?
Yeah. Hoover believed that.
I think he did the opposite, didn't he?
No, he didn't intervene. That's why you had a lot of people that became rich And
Okay.
because the divide between the rich and the poor became worse because he was unwilling to intervene.
Okay, and that's why they voted in the next one. Thanks.
Yeah. So in fact, you can contrast Albert Hoover and Franklin D. Roosevelt, because Franklin D. Roosevelt will bring the opposite, which is that government should at least do we should have some intervention, especially because that was at the heart of the Great Depression. Yeah, so so before we go there, I just go back to so
It's just
then
that it says it just when you go and research that, it says he actually did intervene, even though that word that you said, I can't pronounce it, laissez-faire, meant that what he believed in meant that he didn't interfere, but actually he did. That's all I'm reading.
I think like he intervened, but like of course even Trump intervenes, but like in certain areas less intervention. In certain areas, of course, they can intervene. Okay, but maybe we can revisit that at the end. But that the model he adopted, laissez-faire economy, laissez-faire economy, is less government intervention in regard to the market. Yeah. Then we are going to have the New Deal, and so I'm going to just share. I don't know if
It is quite interesting. You know all those dates you've got on the board? Have you got?
you said what, Natalie?
You know those dates you've got on the board? It's quite interesting because I looked them up, and on every date, the presidents, a lot of them got voted in because of the economy. I know that normally happens, but yeah, I found that interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to. Yeah. Thank you, Natalie. I don't know if uh, my screen is visible. I hope it is. I think it is. Yeah. So I want us just to read the New Deal, and just at because I still have a lot to cover. Just get the main principles, like the main principles, because there's a lot of information. So the New Deal. So if someone can just read this. Sorry. Yeah.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hold on a sec. Just fix this. I'm on my phone. The New Deal was a 1933 to 1938 series of economic, social, political reforms in response to the Great Depression in the United States under President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He introduced the phrase when accepting the Democratic Party presidential nomination in the 1932 United States presidential election, winning in a landslide over incumbent Herbert Hoover, whose administration was widely viewed as ineffective. Roosevelt attributed the Depression to inherent market instability and inadequate aggregate demand following the Keynesian economic model, and argued that the stabilizing and rationalizing the economy required massive government intervention.
Yeah, so at a general level, so Franklin D. Roosevelt is going to argue that rather than laissez-faire economy, which is less government intervention, we need much government intervention. And so from 1933 to 1938, Roosevelt is going to, we are going to, if it's possible, I will not read this. Roosevelt is going to sign, and we're going to have these many institutions that are going to to be created, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Emergency Banking Act. So like all these institutions, government institutions are going to be others are going to be empowered, others are going to be formed to ensure that they regulate the economy. The market cannot work on itself. And when we talk about like this market being regulated or not, before 1929, before this period, you have people, for example, trading in stocks just over the counter. There's no regulatory, like central regulatory organ. Like, for example, we have central banks in different countries to regulate the banking sector in those industries. We have deposit regulatory institutions. You have your deposits in the bank, and we have an organization, a government organization that has to regulate that. So that's the government intervention in this case. But before 1929, yes, it may have been there, but it was not so much formal and not so much structured or sophisticated, if I would say that. So so that is it. So this New Deal is going. So Franklin Roosevelt is going to introduce these efforts to increase government intervention, and in an effort to subsidize the economy and to return, like to deal with the consequence of the Great Depression. Yeah. So if anyone has anything to, like, if there's any discussion on that, then yeah. So the New Deal, basically, you'll have one aspect also is progressive taxation. You have to increase taxation, and it's progressive. The higher you earn, the higher you pay the tax, and then government intervention. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So from 1930s, so we said in 1930s, we have this swap between Republicans and Democrats. Before going back to 1860, we used to view Democrats as bad and Republicans as good. But in 1930, this is the time when they swap sides, when they change. So, and Republicans more and more, they are going to believe in freedom in regard to more individual freedoms and more market, more the markets should regulate themselves and the government should interfere less. And the Democrats, Franklin Roosevelt, and because he was a Democrat, and presidents after that, they will have this idea that the market should be regulated. So from 1930 up until 1960, if you check it, you'll realize that those who are going to win the majority of the presidents who are going to win are Democrats from 1930 to 1960s. And during this time period, you are going to have the Civil Rights Act being enacted, and the Civil Rights Act, and yeah, the success of the civil rights movement. And the Republicans, the conservatives, they are going to view all these changes, including the government intervention by Franklin Roosevelt from 1930, and this Civil Rights Act, they are going to see that as threatening them, if I would say that. And in 1980s, we're going to have the rise of Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan will start championing for another economic model, another order, neoliberalism. So, of course, we will discuss what neoliberalism is. And we know one of the slogans of Ronald Reagan was "Make America Great Again." And Ronald Reagan believed that the way we can make America great again is through adopting adopting the principles that is contained in this ideology, neoliberalism, which we will discuss. So before that, let me just go to this slide here. So if you will notice something, during this period, 1860s to 1870s, and even before, you'll realize that this idea of freedom is connected. If you can connect it, also you can connect it to the Southerners. They have slaves and they have their businesses. Not their business, their farms, and they have all these slaves, and they are using these slaves they are exacting the slaves to make their own money. To make their living and income and all that. And they want less government intervention. So if we can connect all this idea of less government intervention in what people do, you can see it goes all the way to the roots of it goes all the way to the issue of slavery, because as a Southerner, you want less government interference. And we see in 1861 when Abraham Lincoln is going to be elected, that they are going to rescind that and we are going to have a civil war. So similarly, during this period, 1860s to 1870s, when we say in 1863, we have the 14th Amendment being passed, which is that the blacks are going to be freed and there's no slavery. And what happens in 1870 to 1880, we can call, I'm not sure, but if we can say this is the cause, and then we can take this as the effect. And the effect is that in 1870s to 1920s, both politically you are going to have some laws and policies that are going to be implemented or promoted that really is just another way of bypassing what came before, which is during this period. And we see that in, for example, 1896 with the separate versus the 1896 Supreme Court decision, which was some way. If does anyone remember, like 1896 Supreme Court decision? It was separate but equal.
Separate what?
The one that essentially said that we are equal but separate. You said something, Natalie?
No,
yeah,
sorry.
So it's in 1896, and it's just a reaction to what is happening here. And it's the same with this
Titus?
issue of race. Yes, Natalie.
Did you say 1896 or 1996? Sorry.
1896.
18. It was Plessy and Ferguson, it says. Rule and segregation. Yeah.
I think it was that, separate versus equal. So equal but separate. So like you have something that is progressive, and then you have a reaction of that thing, and it just tries to to downplay what just came here in another form. So you have, 14th Amendment, which states the blacks, they are equal, they have constitutional right, they should be treated as persons. And then we come here, they say, yes, we are equal, but separate. So the same happens to economy. So during 1860 to 1870s, we have massive federal spending, and then you come here and there's that promotion of laissez-faire capitalism, less government intervention. And less government intervention will favor the South because before they were doing slave trade, it would favor them because the government would not interfere. But even after the slavery was ended, they would still want minimal regulation. Yeah, so that's how this issue of minimal regulation, I think, connects. So we can just speak, like, share our comments because we're just discussing. So the same happens with 1930s and the 1980s. So we have something that is good. We are coming 1930s leading to 1940s and 1950s after the Second World War. We have these global organizations not global organizations. We have this, if you take the context of United States as a country, you have all these bodies that are formed in order to intervene in the economy. And in 1980s, and we also have, two things here. We have this New Deal, which is the economy, and we also have, in regard to the human rights, we have the Civil Rights Act. And these players that will come here, Ronald Reagan, the Republican Party, the Conservative, they are going to I don't want to say it directly, but oppose, in quotes, oppose what was done here. And they're going to introduce policies and more, policies that will, that they like. And because we're just following the economy, that's neoliberalism. So let's see what neoliberalism is. There we go. So if somebody can read it for us, just the first one.
Neoliberalism is a political and sorry.
The second one, the second one. Sorry.
Neoliberalism is often associated with a set of economic liberalization policies, including privatization, deregulation, depoliticalization, consumer choice, labor market flexibilization, economic globalization, free trade, monetarism, austerity, and reductions in government spending. These policies are designed to increase the role of the private sector in the economy and society. Additionally, the neoliberal project is oriented towards the establishment of institutions and is inherently political in nature, extending beyond mere economic considerations.
Yeah, so this neoliberalism is going to be championed by Ronald Reagan and also Margaret Thatcher in United Kingdom in 1980s. And basically, it's deregulation of economy and privatization. So if you have, for example, a government providing health insurance, and neoliberalism, deregulation will want that health insurance not to be provided by a government but by private entities. So, and if at least you can connect this to what Obama came to do in 2012 with the Obamacare. So why did Republicans, they most of the time wanted to block Obamacare? Why? Because they have this idea that the government should not be doing that. It should be privatized, and the government should not. They see government spending on that as a waste. Or yes, of course, not all of them, and they also have other reasons. To believe that. So deregulation of economy and privatization. So that's 1980s, and so this deregulation and privatization is going to be cemented in 1989. This neoliberalism is going to be cemented in 1989 and to be promoted across the world. Because in 1989 we have these two events happening. One is fall of communism. So communism is going to fall, and that means the end of communist ideology, and then capitalism is now going to be promoted around the world. And the capitalism that was promoted by Ronald Reagan, of course, and Ronald Reagan is there in 1989, is neoliberalism. And this neoliberalism, we have this Washington Consensus, which was also adopted in 1989. So we'll just read what Washington Consensus is, and then as we continue. So if anyone has any thought, any addition before as we continue. Yeah, so Washington Consensus is going to be adopted in, I think, 1989. And this Washington Consensus, I don't want even to. Yeah, I don't. Okay, I can read this paragraph. I can just paraphrase it, which is that it encompasses free market promoting policies, trade liberalization, privatization, and finance liberalization. And this Washington Consensus is going to be uh, promoted, and both Democrats and Republicans are going um, to have a positive. They're going to view it positively. Yeah. So So then from 1989, we come to 2008, and in 2008 we have a very big financial crash. We have the financial crash, and I just want us to discuss that. So many economists are going to say that are going to account for 2008 financial crisis using different reasons and explanations. And but one thing that uh, is that they agree that his neoliberalism contributed to the 2008 financial crisis. Yeah. So, and I just want us to read an article, to read some parts of an article in The Guardian, and then, okay, before that, so this this ideology, neoliberalism, the regulation of economy, is going to influence is going to influence Washington, United States, to have not too much government tightening on the economy in different parts of the economy in different areas. And we can see that with before 2008, we have, so we just read, uh, uh, yeah, so if there was a documentary that was released by Frontline, and it was about this. It was about this this woman, Brooksley Bond. Okay, she was the head of. Uh, so I'll just go to. Okay, so Yeah. So
Titus, we've lost the share screen. It's dropped out.
oh, sorry. Let me do it again. Sorry. Yeah. So if someone can just read this for me, this one. I don't know if it's clear.
If you want. And the story of Brooksley Bourne is not only the tale of a remarkable regulator whose Cassandra-like warnings, if heeded, could have prevented the great financial crisis from exploding into raging, ruinous enormity. It's also more broadly an account of how systemic bias and prejudice created the conditions for a dangerous breed of groupthink to thrive with ultimately disastrous consequences. Understanding what went wrong back then can teach us an important lesson about managing risks in the future. Every voice in the room is worth hearing, even if, and perhaps especially if, the message is inconvenient.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elder. So Brooksley Bourne from 1996 to 1999, and then afterwards, she's going to head commodities. She's going to be the chairperson for Commodity Futures Trading Commission. So we have this instruments to protect for risk to reduce risks, futures, derivatives. Yeah, and she's going to be the head of that body that that regulates. I don't know if I'd say regulates or as an oversight of them, futures, derivatives, similar to stocks, I think. And what she did, if you watch the documentary was by Frontline, she was she urged the government so many times to regulate the derivatives because before 2008, these derivatives, these stocks, futures and derivatives, like they were not regulated, or there was not much regulation. And if you go to that documentary, one thing that was disheartening was that most of those who were the economic advisors to Bill Clinton and also to George Bush, they were men, and they were economists who were brilliant, and they were listened to. Like people thought they were competent, and what they said was to be was what was to be adopted. And these economists, most or some of them wanted deregulation. Don't regulate the derivative market. Let the market just do its work, and it will regulate itself. And what Brooksley Bourne is going to predict is that if you are not going to regulate it, we are going to have a market crash. And she did it many times. In fact, if I think from the documentary, there was a time she tries to use the commission that she was chairing, CFTC commission, and she wrote a publication warning and to the government to increase regulation, but she was not listened to. Yeah, so basically, and that's just a story to show that this idea of neoliberalism, before 2008 financial crisis, it was thought to be the best form of the best economic model, which is that you just don't regulate the economy and privatize, don't regulate the economy, and the market will take care of itself. And then we are going to have 2008 financial crisis, and this financial crisis is going to cause a lot of unemployment, and then the banks in that crisis, they were almost collapsing. And then 2008, we also have the election of Obama, and Obama is going to, the same time when we have the beginning of this financial crisis, Obama is going to be elected, and Obama has no option but to bail the banks, provide government initiative to bail out the banks, because Obama believed, and I think he was right, that if you don't bail the banks, the effects of the financial crash was going to be massive. And what that does, the bailing out of the banks, what it does is that from 2008, it creates a movement, a populist movement, both within the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. Both within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And from this event, the financial crisis going forward, all of them, most of the populists from the right and the left, they are going to see neoliberalism as the cause of it, and they are going to now mobilize the masses who have been affected by 2008 financial crisis, because it affected people massively, and that's what's going to lead to Trump and the election of Trump in 2016. So you have something in 1980s that is connected really far back before 1980s, and it's adopted, and both Democrats and Republicans adopt it. And when we say the sixth kingdom, we don't mean that Republicans are not in it, or sixth kingdom is both Democrats and Republicans in that in the sense, I don't know how to explain it. Okay, but the sixth kingdom, during that time period, both Democrats and Republicans, they are going to vote for this for these ideologies unanimously, or it's going to receive bipartisan votes. And so this neoliberalism is what, if you can just see the thread and connect it, what leads to the election of Trump. So for now, what I just want to do is to, if we can just read some few articles, and then maybe we'll just discuss and end. So, so if someone can just read this. Yeah. So this is an article in the Guardian, and maybe I'll just summarize it. It says the use of the term neoliberal, it explodes in 1990s, and it's connected with financial deregulation or deregulation, and then it leads to 2008 financial crisis. And we also have connected with neoliberalism is globalization, which is that you just have open markets, like between nations, between whether it's different nations, have open markets. The government should not interfere too much about, just have open markets and liberalization, and let the markets trade liberally, freely. And we just discussed. So that's it. So the point from this article is, and many other articles, is what causes 2008 financial crisis? It's deregulation, and if you just consider the documentary that I stated, and if you watch it, it will be clear. So yeah, so if it's possible, I'll just read this also. It says, neoliberalism sees competition as the defining characteristics of human relations. It defines citizens as consumers whose democratic choices are best exercised by buying and selling, a process that rewards merit and punishes inefficiency. It maintains that the market delivers benefits that could never be achieved by planning. And so attempts to limit competition are treated as inimical to liberty. So if you try to limit competition according to them, they see that it's opposite to it contradicts the liberal values, liberty. And then tax and regulation should be minimized. Public services should be privatized. That's one of the issues. One of the things connected with neoliberalism. If it's health insurance, it should be privatized. The government should do less. The organization of labor and collective bargaining by trade unions are portrayed as market distortions that embed the formation of a natural hierarchy of winners and losers. Inequality is recast as virtuous, a reward for utility and a generator of wealth, which trickles down to enrich everyone. Trickle-down economics. Efforts to create more equal society are both counterproductive and morally corrosive. The market ensures that everyone gets what they deserve. So I'll continue to read. Persuade themselves that they acquired their wealth through merit, ignoring the advantages such as education, inheritance, and class that they may have helped to secure it. The poor begin to blame themselves for their failures, even when they can do little to change their circumstance. So I thought that one was really good. So and mostly this is what the conservatives, and especially because they happen to more be on the Republican side, that these interventions by the government, they see it as having negative. They don't see it positively. They have this idea, and for me, I don't think it's bad that people should work hard. The individual should try to do their best, but that's weaponized and manipulated to mean that the government should not do anything, and anybody who is poor because they did not work hard. So, and we know we have structural factors that cause inequality, that cause poverty, and so for conservatives, you can just pull yourself out of that. And now, if you have neoliberalism, and if you have structural factors that cause poverty or that cause inequality, it's not easy to get yourself out of poverty that was or at least the majority cannot get themselves out of poverty if the cause was structural. In that case, the government must intervene. So if, for example, you have before 1965, before 1963 or 1964, before the government said segregation is bad, which is a structural issue, there was no way that the Black people could lift themselves out of poverty, and that required a government intervention. So yes, the market systems, the schools, everything, and how trade is going to be to be carried out, the government has to intervene. But neoliberalism from 1980s, the government should do less and less. And one of the things that we said that is central to why they believe neoliberalism is good is that the market will always adjust and correct itself. So if there's mistakes or if the market has some problems, they believe the market will just correct itself. Yeah. So
Titus,
yes.
I'm not sure. There's two words of thought about Trump being a neoliberalist. Some would say he's a transactionalist or a populist. So even though he exaggerates, he makes the inequalities worse. His situation on global, affairs. I think it's quite complex because he is a bit of both. He's a neoliberalist. And he's also a transactional person. It's all about the deal, making deals. And he uses the state to do that, which is a bit different.
Yeah. So which what you've just the comment you've just said leads me to now discuss maybe 2016, although I did discuss it before. So which is now the policies and the model that Trump will adopt. So when Trump comes to office, they have seen all that neoliberalism has done. And one of the things neoliberalism has done from 1980s is free economies, like free market economy. So United Kingdom can trade with United States freely.
Where do you say my Comey's Tosh? Yeah.
Sid, you have not muted.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So Trump will see that as causing inequality or hurting United States. So Trump will, in some form or shape, fight against neoliberalism. That is why in 2016 Trump calls himself the champion for those that and did not consider himself as the elite. And the phrase "drain the swamp," and the swamp is all these practices and policies that you have had from 1980s, the neoliberalism. They have hurt us. They have hurt these people. They have hurt my people, my base. And so we need to fight against neoliberalism. But what Trump does is, yes, they see something that is genuine, neoliberalism, the bad effects of neoliberalism, but the policies that they adopt are worse. They don't even help, because now neoliberalism said, let's just have less government spending and less government intervention in terms of just let people trade freely between neoliberalism in connection with globalism, let people trade between nations. And Trump will come and say, no, we need to close our borders and we need to impose tariffs on goods produced from other countries. So you see, that's government intervention, because the government is intervening and protecting its, like the government is intervening. And so that's what motivates Trump in 2016 and 2024. But just to show how neoliberalism, which will be my final point, just to show how neoliberalism leads to Trump being elected. We've said before, in 1989, we have neoliberalism. And by the time we get to 2008, and by the time we get to 2016, 2024, we have a massive rise in inequality. So if, for example, you consider inequality in 1940s, 1950s, which was the period when we had the New Deal, and inequality in 2008 to 2024, you will realize by the time, for example, you come to 2024, less than 10%, I think, of the world population own more than 90% of the wealth. And within United States, even less than that, less than 10% of all the population in United States own 90% of the wealth, and the rest 90% own 10% of the wealth. So all these people that are on the bottom of the pyramid, and some of them are, I'm just doing a summary of a book, but I'll share the name of the book. Some of them are white males who, if they compare themselves to their parents, they see themselves as worse, as far worse, and so they will see the Democrats, because 2008 to 2016 we have a Democrat, Obama, and especially Obama bailing the banks. They will see that as an attack on them, and as the thing that caused their economic woes, and so that will lead to Trump, because Trump will now come and tap into that and have a message, and the message of Trump is, I will be your champion, I'll be the one who will fight for you, I will drain the swamp and I will help you, because all these people have betrayed you. So I'll just read, I'll just go to a book, and then as we finish, anyone who has any comment, any discussion. So there's a book by an economist. It's called It's called Guy Standing. The book is called The Precariat. So it's written by Guy Standing, The Precariat, and according to him, the new dangerous class. So I'll just go directly to we'll read specific parts. So the first page of this book, I'll not read, I'll just paraphrase, is that in 1970s, 1980s, we have a group of ideologically inspired economists. And what they are going to do is they will promote this neoliberal model. Of course, we have discussed it, and maximize competition and competitiveness, increase labor market flexibility, and then according to him, this has created a group of people, the precariat, and it says it consists of many. So I'll just read this. One theme of neoliberalism was that countries should increase labor market flexibility, which came to mean an agenda for transferring risk and security into workers and their families. The result has been the creation of a global precariat, consisting of many millions around the world without an anchor of stability. They are becoming a new dangerous class. They are prone to listen to ugly voices and to use their votes and money to give those voices a political platform of increasing influence. The very success of the neoliberal agenda, embraced to a great or lesser extent by governments of all complexions, has created an incipient political monster. Action is needed before that monster comes to life. And Guy Standing writes this book before 2016 election, I think. Yeah. So it's a good. It was a good prediction. So, and if you just read the whole book, it has a good connection between neoliberalism and this class who are going to listen to any voice. Of course, in our case, Donald Trump, and are going to vote for them. Yeah, so let's just finally finish with, there's a book, I think it's written by Ian Bremer. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'll share. So it's connecting neoliberalism, the effects of neoliberalism, with Donald Trump being voted. So I'll just read it first. Why do Palestinians throw rocks? Why do Palestinians throw rocks now? I think that's in regard to an event in the past. So I just read it. Okay, let me just go to. Oh yeah, I need. Okay, let me just read from the second paragraph. I'm sorry. In that sense, there will soon be Palestinians all over the world. Workers everywhere fear lost jobs and wages as shifting global economy and technological change leave them behind. Citizens fear surging waves of strangers who alter the face and voice of the country they know. They fear terrorists and criminals who kill for reasons no one can understand. They fear that government cannot or will not protect them. Gripped by anxiety, they get angry. To make themselves seen, heard, and felt, they start to throw rocks. Then they call for help. Then the call for help is answered. Donald Trump tells an excited overflow crowd that he sees them, that he sees their enemies, and that only he can take them back to the promised land. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders tell cheering fans that big corporations and Wall Street banks are robbing them blind. Champions of Brexit tell voters they must reclaim Britain's borders and reject laws and rules imposed by Europeans. European populists tell followers they will leave the Church of Patriots against foreigners and globalists. These leaders aren't these leaders are not arguing that government should be bigger or smaller, that it should tax less or spend more. They are challenging the right of elites to make the rules that govern our lives. They tell citizens they have been cheated of their chance to succeed and that the media is in on it. They promise to comfort the afflicted, afflict the comfortable, and burn down the houses of power. Yeah, so that's something from the book. And I don't know what time we have. Okay, I can just make
going over time, Titus. Sorry, I didn't give you a warning, but I thought you knew because you kept saying
oh yeah, okay.
It's about 12 o'clock we normally finish, but you can have 5 minutes if you need it.
Oh yeah, okay. So we can connect the events leading to 1929 financial crash and events leading to 2008 financial crash. And there's a very excellent article by The Guardian comparing these two histories and how these minimal regulation in 1870s, 1900s created political monsters in the world then, especially Hitler in Germany. Yeah, especially Hitler in Germany. And the same is happening here. So finally back to
Titus, just on that slide, should that say 1989 on the left there before the financial crash? What dates would you put before the 2008 one? Because the top one says 1870s to 1900 before 1900.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah. Sure. So this should be 1989.
Yeah.
1980s. Thank you so much. 1980s to 1989. Yeah. Okay. So it's the same thing repeating. And what we also see is they have not learned the lessons because the solution has not been offered to the problem. Trump has not given any solution to these problems. In fact, he has just done it. I would say it's the two parts of the same same coin. Which means, yes.
Do you think that a lot of the American people, we know they seem to be duped, but I'm surely they knew he was a neoliberalist or not? A lot of educated or the media knew he was a neoliberalist.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's,
I suppose he made promises and he says he was something he wasn't really.
yeah. I guess I would say it's complex because at one point is when he's coming, he's saying, "I want to fight all this. I want to burn down all these structures that have made you you use their best the way you are," and one of them is just close down the economy, impose tariffs. Yeah, so.
I suppose maybe
But
Brian's comes into it because he kind of did lie to them, didn't he? He's not doing what he promised. In the,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Liar, isn't he? From the beginning, he says one thing and does another. So it's not really clear. Like you say, it's complex. Is he neoliberalist? He says, "I'll rescue you from all these people," but we know he doesn't do that.
Yeah. So why they fought on immigration and the economy, at least it's now clear. It's because they saw immigrants as being the reason why they failed, and the economy, they are fighting for someone to come and rescue them from what they have, like the losses they have endured. 2008 financial crisis, many people lost their homes. And at the heart of,
why did the Sixth Kingdom fail? Because that was the beginning of your question.
yeah, because in 1980, because they did not continue with the New Deal, because from 1930, as we saw, we had FDR adopt the New Deal. So if I would say, if I would maybe be specific, for example, to Democrats, but of course also Republicans, they could have continued with the New Deal and rejected neoliberalism that was being promoted by Ronald Reagan in 1989. But because they failed, we know, according to the ship of Acts 27 in 1989, that ship is doomed to die. It was doomed because neoliberalism was championed in that history, 1989. And now we are just living the ripple effects of it.
And what would you say was the... Oh, sorry, Natalie, did you finish?
Yeah, I was just saying thank you.
Yeah, what was the main reason why you think that people did that, accept neoliberalism over the New Deal, when the New Deal seemed to be working, but obviously it wasn't working for everyone. By the time it got to the 1980s, something was going wrong, and then we sort of accept neoliberalism to rescue the situation. But why did they do that? Is it they're just starting to look after themselves? I don't know.
I was thinking like it's 1860. If you go to 1863, we are going to have something like the end of slavery, and then at least something positive to that. But slavery morphs itself into something else, which is the separate but equal laws, and then including laissez-faire economy in 1870s, 1890s. So I also think 1989. Ronald Reagan, because he's a Republican and because some Republicans are also backed him, they are trying to do something that they of course opposed the civil rights, but they saw that they were not successful. So they find a party, Republican Party, and they are going to promote all these values, neoliberalism, because they know it will support something that they have, which is, for example, if the government was interfering with with private universities, and some of these people owned private universities, that if you don't do something, we are going to tax you. And so if you promote a market that's neoliberal, that has less regulation, it means you will regulate my business or my what I do less. Yeah, that's what I think. I don't know what other people thoughts are.
No, I'm just thinking that the root of it all, after slavery, they never really got rid of racism. They never really changed the viewpoint, and then legislated in positive ways for the Black people. Same with women now. It's a white man's world still, and they're still failing to legislate properly to shore up those inequalities, that they don't happen again. And it's because at the heart, it seems, people are still racist, sexist, and out for number one, and classist and moneyist, or I don't know how you describe that, but people want to hold on to the money. So because I want to be rich, I don't care if you're poor. That whole thing about, there are some people who genuinely want to help everyone, but there's lots of people who are saying, I look after number one and forget everyone else. And that ethos, I guess, has just permeated through. So when they give rights to the black slaves. They don't really want them to be equal. And then they give rights to women and gay people in the 60s, but people don't really want them to be equal. So there's that whole, they failed. I think you gave the example about they didn't legislate Roe v. Wade, and they became, maybe someone else, no, I saw a presentation this morning where they basically said the same thing, that the government of America, the Sixth Kingdom, became Laodicean, or, lax in its willingness to really institute those principles and put them into law and legislate. And maybe at the heart of that is because people are still racist, sexist, etc. I don't know, we've all got the prejudices and biases if we trace it back, but yeah.
Yeah, it never went away. It just moved into different form.
They're just what did you say?
Like racism never went away. It just moves into a different form. Yeah, like slavery doesn't go away, just changes form.
No, and certainly we say we're dealing with sexism. If we say our thing is feminism, then we can see the Epstein files are a prime example of how the world has remained misogynistic and male dominated, and how the whole way women have been treated as the files are open, with women not being appointed in STEM subjects, in academia circles. That's now coming out. It's not just I say carefully, not just a sex trafficking thing, but which is demeaning to women and young people anyway. But it's the whole, the fact that women were actually prevented from taking senior positions in academic circles and government circles. I mean, it's huge. So it's quite shocking, really. That it's never really, so there's people in high places who've never really implemented equality or accepted it or embraced it or practiced it.
Yeah.
And then they've got slavery to morph into the working class taxpayer now, because I think it's 73% of Americans go from paycheck to paycheck, and they're trapped, even though they're working. So it's a new form of slavery.
Yeah, and so if they see Trump championing and Trump telling them, I am your there was this term, I am the one who will fight for you. Yeah.
It's just Lucifer all over again, isn't it? Lucifer says, I'll be a better government. Like, vote for me, I'll do it better. And it's a lie and deception. Yeah.
In the name of peace, invading Iran.
Yes, total irony.
Can you imagine? Don't want to change the subject, Titus, but can you imagine what MAGA even think? They're such an installationist. Their mouth must be wide open this morning.
I didn't get you.
Oh, sorry?
I did not get you, but you can pardon kindly.
It's okay. I didn't want to defect the term from what you've studied. Thank you. I saw the thread. Thanks for your study.
Okay. I think I'll pray. So just a final thought is, I think these people, they had genuine concerns, but they were manipulated by Trump, and they voted for Trump. Yeah.
I enjoyed that. So, thank you.
Thank you too. Yeah. I'll pray. Thank you so much, loving God. Thank you so much for what we have learned today. Why the Sixth Kingdom failed. You have raised an institution from 1989, this movement, the 144,000, which is based on equality and equality for all, and is based on divine principles, on right principles, and we pray that we may see the work that you are doing and the place that this movement occupies in regard to being an institution that will eventually ensure that all people are treated equally, that all people live happily and are offered lives that fulfill what they it fulfills the principles of your kingdom. We pray that you may guide us in the remaining parts of in the remaining hours of the Sabbath, and we pray that even as we see prophecies fulfilling all over the world, that we may have joy and be established in the hope of your soon coming. Guide and lead us, and pray that your will may be done. In Jesus Christ I pray. Amen.